Sebastian, we'll start over there with you. Currently to date, there are over 120 hedge funds focusing solely on cryptocurrency and ICUs. Is this a bubble that soon pops? Are we riding a wave that has at least another decade of growth, maybe, or more? Or neither? Please explain your perspective.
Sure. So I find that question a little loaded. I find the idea of calling it a bubble to be interesting, and not the concept of a bubble. Whenever we talk about bubbles, we mean them in a very negative sense, right? But there are two sides to a bubble. We have to think about it at all times. Bubbles assist us to travel to a new paradigm. They create railways which go bankrupt, but allow us to create industries that can use those railways, which have been devalued in ways that we never thought. And the internet actually holds a very similar promise. And the other side of it is this: I think about what people are doing with cryptocurrencies, and the question I have is the value of the cryptocurrency going to be that it's very expensive and few people own it, but they have made good money on it? Or is the value of cryptocurrency that it's very cheap, but that it drives a whole lot of applications globally? And that's the question I think I actually would ask panelists, I would ask anyone who is in this industry. Where do we want to travel? Is $7,000 for a Bitcoin the right price? Is price even what we're aiming for here? Are we looking for distribution? Are we looking for uses? Are we looking to turn it into something? So what's great about this moment right now is that the scenarios in which this plays out in are very significantly there's a wide range of scenarios. And so the question we want to think as investors, as people who are fiduciaries for people's money, is what scenarios do we agree with and what scenarios do we not agree with? And so that's how I want to think about this, not as a bubble that pops. I have my own views, personal views, and some of it is probably FOMO, fear of missing out, that I have about prices. But it's not, to me, about prices. It's about what structure, what world are we thinking this might evolve into. We can't answer that question completely, but the paradigm shift, if it occurs, will involve a lot of money, and it will probably involve a lot of losers as well. So.
Just quickly, just ask the question one more time. I want to make sure I get it right, because my preconceived notions sometimes take charge.
So we have 120 hedge funds focusing solely on cryptocurrency and ICOs. Is this a bubble? Are we riding a wave that has at least another decade of growth, or neither?
So when you say, is this a bubble, I have to take a stab at what this is. My definition of this is a paradigm shift. You have over the period of time, say every 50 to 100 to 200 years, a transformational paradigm shift where one technology is obsolesced by another. As time goes on, the distance between these paradigm shifts has been decreasing. Start with the wheel, the invention of fire, electricity, steam engines, gasoline combustion engines. Over the last 40 years, you had micro and mini computers, then you've had the internet. Since the internet, you've had decoding human genome, etc. This compression of time has caused a significant release of value, or creation of value, depending on what school you're from. Some people don't believe that it can be created, but this value release is significant. What this is another paradigm shift. But this paradigm shift, I feel, is the most significant of modern time. A lot of people thought it was the internet. There are certain people here, there's a dividing line where those at a certain age, remember life before the internet, and those after a certain age can't even imagine life without the internet. Imagine 15 years in the future, nobody's ever heard of living without blockchain technology or DOT. Everything's done through the blockchain. You never need a third party. You never need a trusted party. That's what I see going forward. If that's the case, then no matter what price you're discussing, it is minuscule compared to what comes forward. What the question needs to be asked is, what business models are going to be obsolete by this technology versus this is a bubble? Because you don't have enough liquidity for price discovery, so discussion whether it's a bubble or not is, a misnomer. It doesn't make sense. By trying to predict which business models will be obsolete, which new business models will come to the forefront, is when you get to decide, what value you need to put on this and what direction everything goes in. In closing, remember, technology has never put a single company out of business, not to my knowledge. Okay, what technology has done, the paradigm shift has done, is enabled a new business model that upsets the previous business model. Margins compress, collapse, go negative, the company goes out of business. Polaroid or Kodak had the patent on the digital camera, but they were still wiped out through market compression. You're going to see that happen not only in the financial industry, where almost everybody's focusing, but in any industry where you have an exchange of value. And I don't think anybody in this room can think of an industry that does not entail an exchange of value. So blockchain technology allows trustless exchanges of value, something that wasn't capable or possible before.
Can I retort to that?
I guess.
This actually brings me to Cornerstone's, our company's real thinking around this, which is this idea of trust. And we see things like the creation of automated payments, the ability to look at a cryptographically encoded ledger, which says this is all the transactions that have occurred and they lock them in. I think the question of trust is a very important one here. The idea of trustless for us feels like the technology creates a free lunch in the sense that we used to have to trust intermediaries to do our transactions, and we will create a world where we don't need intermediaries to do those transactions. Our question is, does it remove the need for trusted intermediaries, or does it transfer trust from one group who are intermediaries, who broker for us, who aggregate for us, to gatekeepers, to other entities within the structure? So the question is, does trust change or does trust shift? And our view is that trust is likely to shift, in the sense that if you are stuck outside this system, these gatekeepers will be the decision makers about whether you're able to enter into these markets that are trading tokens or those structures. And so that for us is a little bit of an interesting red flag. We are a little concerned that there's a decision about trustless transactions that don't recognize there's a lot of stuff around it. Now, I know there's a lot of applications being developed like that to do some of those elements of gatekeeping, but the emphasis on those gatekeepers become much stronger.
I can't resist. Okay. So he has a point, but here comes the philosophical argument between private networks and public networks. The impetus of having a private network is that you are a gatekeeper. You are the seeker of economic rent. So here you have food, hungry people, and between the food and the hungry people, you have a landlord that owns 1 foot of land. And they charge you $500 to cross 1 foot of land in order to get to the food. Okay? A typical gatekeeper, economic rent seeker. What the public system does, it connects everybody. So instead of going through the central intermediary, you can go through individuals and circumvent that gatekeeper and access the food. Now that food drops in price because you have more access to it, more economic liquidity. Okay? Now, it's the gatekeeper's job to take those barriers and then enforce them and increase them. And it's the seekers of economic value job outside of the gatekeeper to bring those barriers down. So here you have a battle. Okay? Our mantra at Veritasium is, of course, distribution. Freedom for all who deserve it, meritorious access. Those who already have significant stakes in the gatekeeper system think the opposite. So his point is correct, but it doesn't fully expand upon the philosophical argument.
So to separate out the question into 2 parts, is there a hedge fund formation bubble? And sort of speaking as a fund that's currently forming, I don't think so. 90% of startups fail anyways. I don't think it's a statistical anomaly. You'll sort of see this across the startup ecosystem. You'll see this across ICOs as well, although I'd even argue that that might be slightly higher of a failure rate than most traditional startups, but it's all sort of within the same range. It's just a question of marketing. If you're talking about the industry as a whole, I actually agree with both of them. I don't think it's solely about removing a gatekeeper or solely about sort of the trustless environments. I see tokens as sort of running parallel to the concept of a traditional capital structure. You're able to tokenize individual portions of your business model. You're able to sell some sort of excess capacity or access to a network, and it's sort of creating liquidity where conceptually there was none before. If you're looking from purely a market's perspective, this is the first 24/7 global asset class that started at a retail level that is easily accessible with minimal onboarding. And this just has never existed. And in my eyes, that's a market that goes into the trillions, not even, we're barely skimming the surface at 200 billion at this point. And not just that, when you're comparing it to existing asset classes, you're sort of putting a mental block on it, because it's not a proper analogy to say if Bitcoin takes X% of gold, it'll be at 100,000 or something. There's conceptually no reason that Bitcoin wouldn't be able to go to something like $1 million. There's more factors that go into it, but it's just, you can't use existing paradigms to sort of think about whether or not we're involved. And personally, I don't even think we're scratching the surface. We're still at the early adopter, early innovator portion of the life cycle of innovation.
I agree.
So I'll echo pretty much am in agreement with these gentlemen. I do not think that it is a bubble. I think that it is a transition.